What if the very people you've trusted for years are quietly stealing your peace, your confidence, and your joy without you even realizing it? Imagine reaching your 70s only to discover that some of your closest relationships have been holding you back from experiencing the happiness and freedom you truly deserve in your golden years. Today, we're going to explore something many older adults think about, but rarely discuss openly: the types of relationships that may need to be reconsidered or even released as you move through your later years. This isn't about being unkind or ungrateful for the connections you've built over a lifetime. It's about recognizing that your emotional well-being is just as important as your physical health, and that protecting your peace of mind is one of the most powerful acts of self-care you can practice at any age. As you've lived and learned over the decades, you've likely accumulated not just wisdom and experience, but also a complex web of relationships. Some of these connections nourish your spirit, bring you joy, and support your growth. Others, however, may drain your energy, undermine your confidence, or create unnecessary stress and anxiety. The truth is that not every relationship that began with good intentions or shared history continues to serve your best interests. And recognizing this isn't a sign of failure or weakness. It's a sign of wisdom, self-awareness, and respect for the life you've built and the peace you deserve. Before we explore the 5 specific types of relationships that warrant careful evaluation, it's important to acknowledge something fundamental. Many older adults hesitate to distance themselves from draining or toxic relationships because of feelings of guilt, loyalty, or the belief that they should simply tolerate difficult people. You might think that after all these years, you owe it to someone to maintain the connection, or that setting boundaries makes you selfish or unkind. But here's the truth. Protecting your emotional health isn't selfish. It's essential. Setting boundaries isn't about punishing others or being cruel. It's about honoring yourself, your needs, and the limited time and energy you have to invest in relationships that truly matter. With that understanding, let's explore the first type of relationship that may be holding you back: the chronic critic. This is someone who seems incapable of offering genuine support or encouragement. Instead, they focus relentlessly on what's wrong, what could be better, or what you're doing incorrectly. Their feedback isn't constructive or helpful. It's cutting, dismissive, and consistently undermines your confidence and self-worth. The chronic critic might comment on your appearance, your choices, your lifestyle, or your decisions with a tone that suggests you're never quite good enough. They might disguise their criticism as concern or humor, but the cumulative effect is the same. You feel diminished, judged, and inadequate in their presence. Over time, this constant negativity becomes like background noise that shapes how you see yourself. You might start second-guessing your decisions, feeling anxious about their reactions, or avoiding sharing good news because you know they'll find something negative to say. What makes this particularly insidious is that chronic critics often have long histories with you. They might be family members, old friends, or neighbors you've known for decades. This history can make it feel impossible to address the problem or create distance. You might tell yourself that this is just how they are, that they don't mean harm, or that you should be thick-skinned enough to handle it. But here's what you need to understand. Constant criticism chips away at your spirit, regardless of the critic's intentions. You don't have to accept this treatment simply because it's familiar or long-standing. Recognizing a chronic critic means paying attention to how you feel during and after interactions with them. Do you feel energized and uplifted, or drained and discouraged? Do you find yourself bracing for criticism or trying to defend yourself before they even speak? These are signs that the relationship has become toxic. Setting boundaries might mean having an honest conversation about how their words affect you, limiting the time you spend together, or in some cases, choosing to step back entirely from the relationship. This isn't cruelty, it's self-preservation and self-respect. The second type of relationship to reconsider is the emotional drain. This is someone who takes far more than they give, consistently turning every conversation and interaction into an opportunity to unload their problems, complaints, and negativity onto you. Unlike mutual support, where both people share burdens and joys, the emotional drain operates in one direction. They call when they need something but are rarely available when you need support. They dominate conversations with their concerns, but show little genuine interest in your life or well-being. Emotional drains can be exhausting because they require constant emotional labor from you without offering reciprocity. After spending time with them, you feel depleted, tired, and sometimes even anxious or depressed because you've absorbed their negativity without receiving any nourishment in return. Healthy relationships involve balance. Both people give and receive support, listen and share, offer comfort and accept it. When this balance is consistently absent, the relationship becomes draining rather than sustaining. It's important to distinguish between someone going through a temporary crisis who needs extra support and someone whose entire relational pattern is one-sided. We all have seasons where we need more from others, and that's perfectly natural. But when someone is chronically self-focused, perpetually in crisis, and never reciprocates care or interest, that's a drain you don't need to accept as permanent. Addressing this type of relationship might involve setting clearer limits on your availability, redirecting conversations to include your own experiences and needs, or gently pointing out the imbalance. If these efforts don't create change, you may need to reduce contact or let the relationship fade. Remember that your emotional energy is precious and finite, especially as you age. You have every right to invest it in relationships that replenish rather than deplete you. The third type of relationship that warrants reconsideration is the manipulative controller. This person operates under the guise of care, concern, or knowing what's best for you, but their true agenda is control. They might make decisions on your behalf without consulting you, pressure you into choices that serve their interests, or use guilt, obligation, or fear to influence your behavior. They may claim they're protecting you or helping you, but what they're actually doing is eroding your independence and autonomy. Manipulative controllers can be particularly difficult to identify because their tactics are often subtle and cloaked in caring language. They might say things like, "I'm only doing this because I love you," or "You can't handle this on your own," or "After everything I've done for you, you owe me this." These statements are designed to make you feel obligated, incapable, or guilty for asserting your own wishes and boundaries. The impact of a manipulative controller on your life can be profound. Over time, you may start to doubt your own judgment, feel anxious about making decisions without their approval, or lose touch with your own desires and preferences. You might find yourself doing things you don't want to do simply to avoid conflict or to keep the peace. This dynamic strips away your sense of agency and self-determination, which are crucial to maintaining dignity and satisfaction in your later years. Recognizing manipulation requires paying attention to how decisions are made in the relationship. Do you feel free to express your opinions and make your own choices, or do you feel pressured, guilted, or controlled? Do you find yourself going along with things to avoid the other person's anger or disappointment? These are red flags that the relationship has become unhealthy. Reclaiming your autonomy from a manipulative controller takes courage. It might involve clearly stating your boundaries, making decisions independently even when they disapprove, or seeking support from other trusted friends or family members who respect your independence. In some situations, professional support from a counselor or therapist can be invaluable in helping you navigate these dynamics and rebuild your confidence. Remember that aging doesn't diminish your right to self-determination. You are still fully capable of making decisions about your own life, and anyone who suggests otherwise or tries to control you doesn't have your best interests at heart. The fourth type of relationship to evaluate carefully is the fair weather companion. This is someone who is present and engaged when times are good, when celebrations are happening, or when being associated with you is convenient or beneficial to them. However, when you face challenges, illness, grief, or difficult times, they disappear. They're unavailable, make excuses, or simply fade away until things improve. Fair weather companions reveal the conditional nature of their loyalty and friendship. They're happy to enjoy the good times with you, but unwilling to offer support, comfort, or presence during struggles. This inconsistency can be deeply hurtful because it shows that their connection to you is based on what they get from the relationship rather than genuine care for you as a person. True friendship and meaningful relationships are tested not during celebrations, but during adversity. The people who show up when you're struggling, who call to check on you when you're sick, who sit with you in grief, who offer practical help without being asked, these are the relationships worth nurturing and protecting. The ones who only appear when it's easy or fun demonstrate that their investment in you is shallow and self-serving. Recognizing fair weather companions often happens during difficult times when you suddenly realize who is actually present and who has disappeared. This recognition can be painful, especially if you've invested years in these relationships believing they were solid and dependable. However, this awareness is also empowering because it allows you to redirect your energy toward people who have proven their trustworthiness and loyalty. Moving forward, you might choose to maintain cordial but distant relationships with fair weather companions, recognizing them for what they are, rather than expecting depth and reliability that won't materialize. Or you might decide to let these relationships fade naturally, focusing instead on cultivating deeper connections with people who show up consistently regardless of circumstances. Either way, understanding this dynamic protects you from disappointment and helps you build a support network of truly dependable companions. The fifth and final type of relationship that may need reconsideration is the never-satisfied comparer. This is someone who consistently measures themselves against you, turns interactions into competitions, and seems unable to celebrate your achievements or happiness without diminishing them or redirecting attention to themselves. They compare homes, health, grandchildren, accomplishments, possessions, and experiences in ways that create tension and undermine genuine connection. The never-satisfied comparer often comes from a place of their own insecurity and need for validation, but their behavior creates a toxic dynamic that prevents authentic friendship. You might find yourself hesitant to share good news because you know they'll respond with something that tops your story or minimizes your joy. You might feel scrutinized and judged rather than accepted and celebrated. Over time, this competitive atmosphere erodes trust and intimacy, leaving both parties feeling disconnected and defensive. What's particularly damaging about this type of relationship is that it prevents you from simply being yourself and enjoying your own life journey. Instead of celebrating your unique path and finding contentment in your own experiences, you're pulled into endless comparisons that leave you feeling either superior or inferior, neither of which is conducive to genuine happiness and peace. Healthy relationships allow space for both people to have their own successes, challenges, and experiences without competition or comparison. They're built on mutual celebration, genuine interest, and the understanding that each person's journey is valuable and unique. When this foundation is missing and replaced with constant comparison, the relationship becomes a source of stress rather than support. Addressing this dynamic might involve directly discussing how the comparisons make you feel and asking for a different approach to communication. However, if the pattern is deeply ingrained and the person is unwilling or unable to change, you may need to create distance. This allows you to focus on your own contentment and self-acceptance rather than being pulled into exhausting competitions that serve no one's well-being. As we reflect on these 5 types of relationships, the chronic critic, the emotional drain, the manipulative controller, the fair-weather companion, and the never-satisfied comparer, a common thread emerges. Each of these relationship patterns undermines your emotional health, your confidence, your autonomy, or your peace in ways that become increasingly problematic as you age. Your later years should be a time of wisdom, freedom, and authentic connection, not a time of tolerating relationships that diminish you or drain your limited energy. Recognizing these patterns in your own relationships isn't about judgment or blame, either toward yourself or toward others. People develop these behaviors for complex reasons rooted in their own histories, insecurities, and coping mechanisms. Understanding this can help you approach the situation with compassion while still maintaining clear boundaries. You can wish someone well and hope they find healing while simultaneously choosing not to subject yourself to their harmful patterns. Letting go of or creating distance from toxic relationships is one of the most powerful acts of self-respect you can undertake. It sends a clear message to yourself and to others that you value your well-being, that your peace matters, and that you refuse to spend your precious remaining years accommodating behaviors that harm you. This doesn't make you cold, selfish, or unkind. It makes you wise, self-aware, and protective of the life you've worked so hard to build. The space created by releasing unhealthy relationships opens room for deeper connections with people who truly support, respect, and celebrate you. It allows you to invest your energy in relationships characterized by mutual care, genuine interest, and consistent presence. These are the connections that will sustain you, bring you joy, and enrich your golden years with meaning and warmth. If you recognize yourself in any of these relationship dynamics, whether as the person being affected or even as someone who might display some of these behaviors yourself, take heart in knowing that awareness is the first step toward change. You have the power to make different choices moving forward, to set healthier boundaries, and to cultivate the kinds of relationships that align with the person you've become and the life you want to live. I encourage you to take time for reflection after watching this video. Consider the relationships in your life and honestly assess how they make you feel. Ask yourself whether they add to your life or take from it, whether they support your autonomy or undermine it, whether they celebrate you or diminish you. These questions aren't always easy to answer, and the actions they might prompt can feel uncomfortable or even frightening. But your emotional well-being is worth the discomfort of difficult conversations or decisions. If you found this information valuable and helpful, please share this video with others who might benefit from it. Many older adults struggle with these same relationship challenges but feel isolated or unsure about how to address them. By sharing this content, you're helping to create a community of support and understanding around these important issues. Subscribe to our channel to continue receiving practical guidance on navigating the emotional, relational, and health-related aspects of aging with wisdom and grace. We're committed to providing content that empowers you to live your later years with dignity, joy, and authentic connection. Leave a comment below sharing your thoughts or experiences. Have you encountered any of these relationship types in your own life? How have you handled difficult relational dynamics? What advice would you offer to others facing similar challenges? Your insights and stories can provide encouragement and practical wisdom to others walking similar paths. Remember that you deserve relationships that honor, respect, and celebrate who you are. You deserve peace, joy, and the freedom to live authentically in your later years. By courageously evaluating your relationships and making changes where needed, you're not only improving your own life, but also modeling healthy boundaries and self-respect for those around you. Thank you for taking this time to invest in your emotional well-being. The changes you make today will create ripples of positive impact that extend far into your future.